During Vietnam, the elite Pathfinders promised precision and safety for air assaults, but hidden within their story are fatal shortcuts, covert missions, and forgotten deaths that official records rarely acknowledge. Decades later, the true cost of their indispensable role remains buried under redactions and silence. How did these heroes become casualties of their own success, and what secrets still haunt their legacy? In 1943, the darkness over Sicily was split by the roar of C-47 engines and the confusion of war. American paratroopers, meant to strike deep behind enemy lines, scattered across the countryside, some landing nearly 30 miles from their targets. In North Africa earlier that year, similar chaos unfolded. Navigation errors, poor visibility, and a lack of ground control left entire units lost and vulnerable, far from the fight they were sent to join. These failures exposed a simple but devastating truth. Air assault operations, no matter how well planned, were at the mercy of chance once the planes left the ground. Out of these costly lessons, the concept of the Pathfinder was born. The army needed soldiers who could move ahead of the main force, slip behind enemy lines, and transform confusion into precision. Pathfinders trained to parachute in before everyone else, carrying radios, signal panels, and lights. Their job was to mark drop zones and guide the rest of the force in, turning a patch of darkness or jungle into a beacon for incoming aircraft. The first teams took shape in the months after the Sicily drop, their training shaped by the urgent need to prevent another disaster. As the war in Europe continued, Pathfinders became a fixture in major airborne operations. Their presence meant fewer lost paratroopers, tighter formations, and a fighting chance at surprise. By the end of World War II, the idea of controlling the chaos from the ground had proved essential. When the army looked toward new conflicts and new technologies, the lessons of North Africa and Sicily were never far from mind. The foundation for a new kind of warfare, one that would reach its apex in the jungles of Vietnam, had been laid. By 1965, the Army's vision of air assault warfare had taken root in Southeast Asia. The 11th Pathfinder Company arrived in Vietnam, bringing with them a new set of tools and tactics shaped by years of trial and error. Their mission was clear: guide helicopters and paratroopers to precise landing zones in some of the world's most challenging terrain. The thick jungles and unpredictable weather of Vietnam demanded more than signal panels and flashlights. Pathfinders now carried portable beacon devices like the AN/PPN-10 and later the AN/PPN-18, capable of broadcasting coded signals to incoming aircraft, even through dense foliage and rain. These beacons, paired with radio communication and visual markers, allowed pilots to home in on landing zones with a level of accuracy never before possible in combat. The 11th Pathfinder Company operated alongside the 1st Cavalry Division, Airmobile, the Army's first major unit to embrace helicopter warfare on a grand scale. At the height of the conflict, Pathfinders were embedded with every major aviation battalion, including the 101st Airborne. Their expertise was called upon for everything from large-scale assaults to single-bird extractions deep in hostile territory. The demand for their skills peaked in the mid-1960s, as airmobile tactics became the backbone of American operations. With each mission, Pathfinders transformed the chaos of Vietnam's jungles into a network of marked zones and safe corridors. Their presence meant helicopters could deliver troops, supplies, and firepower with a speed and precision that changed the nature of the war. But the same technology and tactics that enabled these feats also set the stage for risks and controversies that would soon come to define the darker side of their legacy. In the shadows of official war zones, Pathfinder teams found themselves deployed on missions that rarely appeared in public records. Orders often came through cryptic, fragmentary instructions, fragos, delivered face-to-face or by radio, with the details sanitized or omitted from daily logs. These missions took Pathfinders into Laos and Cambodia, far beyond the acknowledged boundaries of the conflict. Helicopter manifests from early 1971 list P/F detachment or air traffic control personnel inserted at landing zones like Lolo and Ranger North during Operation Lamson 719, but the true nature of their assignments was deliberately blurred. In reality, these teams were responsible for marking landing zones for ARVN and Special Forces units, sometimes within striking distance of North Vietnamese supply lines. Smoke, infrared beacons, and coded radio bursts signalled pilots where to land, even as artillery thundered and enemy fire swept the clearings. The paperwork, when it existed, described them only as advisors or external support, ensuring plausible deniability for commanders in Saigon and Washington. The risk extended far beyond enemy bullets. Orders dictated that pathfinders withdraw immediately after marking a zone, but in practice, extractions often failed or were delayed. Some teams spent hours pinned down, unable to call for help without revealing their presence. The pressure to execute these missions quickly led to shortcuts in preparation and training. Mobile training teams rushed new pathfinders through condensed courses, sometimes skipping safety blocks or specialized briefings. The urgency to fill rosters for covert assignments outpaced the Army's ability to ensure every team was fully prepared. For many pathfinders, the moral cost was as heavy as the physical danger. Marking a landing zone in a remote hamlet or near a border village could bring destruction to civilians caught in the crossfire. After-action reports from these missions were often fragmentary, with civilian casualties noted in vague terms or not at all. The institutional drive to maintain operational tempo and secrecy left little room for reflection or for acknowledgement of the ethical lines crossed in the name of mission success. Training for Vietnam's pathfinders often carried its own risks, far from the battlefield. In October 1964, Private First Class Bobby Rodriguez was killed at Fort Benning while marking power lines during a landing zone exercise. The hazard was real and immediate, Male. He died from electrocution, a result of underdeveloped safety procedures and the pressure to prepare soldiers quickly for air assault missions. The Army convened an investigation and, in the aftermath, revised protocols for obstacle marking, mandating insulated tools and clearer coordination with engineers. Yet the pace of training rarely slowed. Just 7 months later, Private First Class Larry D. Price drowned during a parachute exercise, also at Fort Benning. Price's chute carried him into water, but he lacked the training and equipment to survive the landing. The review board called for mandatory water survival instruction and rescue swimmer coverage at all jump sites. Still, the need for more pathfinders meant these changes rolled out unevenly. In September 1969, Corporal James Curtis Hensley died during a jump in Bin Long Province, Vietnam. His parachute landed in a river and he was unable to escape the harness. Hensley had already served in combat, but like many pathfinders, his final moments came not in battle, but in a training accident. The Army's Safety Board recommended pre-jump water rehearsals and rapid response rescue teams, but implementation lagged behind the operational tempo. Compressed courses, mobile training teams, and a mounting demand for pathfinders produced shortcuts that cost lives. Each board of inquiry issued recommendations, but the cycle continued. The names of Rodriguez, Price, and Hensley appear in memorial rolls, reminders that the path to Vietnam's jungles was dangerous long before the bullets started flying. Nightmares followed many pathfinders home from Vietnam. The job demanded a level of risk and moral uncertainty that left deep scars long after the fighting stopped. Rates of post-traumatic stress among these veterans ran higher than the infantry average, a pattern traced in VA records and oral histories. Some describe waking each morning to the memory of missions gone wrong, marked landing zones that became death traps, civilians caught in the crossfire, friends lost to accidents or enemy fire. One veteran put it simply: after the war, many pathfinders felt the ghosts of those they tried to save and those they could not. The statistics only hint at the human cost. Behind every number stands a soldier burdened by what he witnessed and what he was asked to do, carrying memories that would not fade with time. The war ended, but the struggle for peace of mind continued for years. The record of Vietnam's pathfinders remains incomplete, caught between classified files and the efforts of those determined to set it right. Discrepancies have long existed between the numbers reported by Pathfinder units and the official tallies released by MACV. Internal logs and association memorials suggest that dozens of deaths and injuries went uncounted or absorbed into broader aviation statistics. The National Pathfinder Association, along with military historians, has pressed for transparency, submitting repeated FOIA requests to the National Archives and the Department of Defense. As of 2025, at least 32 archival files with explicit Pathfinder casualty data are still under review, many redacted for privacy or national security. Advocates argue that these gaps obscure not just the true cost of the war, but the individual sacrifices behind each name. The story, for now, is unfinished, waiting for the last sealed records to be opened. Between 1965 and 1972, the 11th Pathfinder Company and other units became essential to US air mobility in Vietnam, using AN/PPN beacons to guide thousands of helicopter landings. Official records confirm at least 3 fatal training accidents: Rodriguez in 1964, Price in 1965, Hensley in 1969, while Army boards repeatedly cited safety lapses and rushed instruction. Archival evidence links Pathfinders to covert operations like Lamson 719, but many operational details remain classified or redacted in MACV-SOG manifests and FRAGO orders. Today, gaps between unit rosters and official tallies persist, and the National Pathfinder Association continues to advocate for full disclosure. The psychological toll has been documented through elevated PTSD rates, yet comprehensive reporting is still incomplete. What is clear, the expertise of Pathfinders was vital, but institutional pressures and secrecy came at a heavy cost. The full story of Vietnam's Pathfinders is still emerging, one archival release at a time.